Okay. All right, good afternoon. I am Justine Orlando, Chair of the Boston Landmarks Commission Design Review Subcommittee, Vice Chair of the Boston Landmarks Commission. I am calling to order a meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission on June 23rd, 2026 at 5 p.m. Present are Commissioners Chair Walker, Ward Hyatt, Haney, and myself, Orlando. To participate in this hearing, you may participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at www.zoom.gov.com/J/16550955154 or by calling 1-646-828-7666 and entering meeting ID number 165-509-5154. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28th, 2025 amendment extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is to be recorded. All conversations between the commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. If there are any media or elected officials present, I would ask that you identify yourself by using the raise your hand function on the Zoom platform and state your name, title, and affiliation. All right. Allison, are you with us tonight as a member of the community? Going to take that as a yes. All right, so we have one application on the agenda this evening for design review. We have application 26.0941 BLC for the First Church Roxbury. Reverend Mary Margaret Earl is the applicant. The proposed work is installation of a window opening and window at the north elevation of the Putnam Chapel. So just ask if the applicant can identify themselves to be unmuted.
So Justine, I'll start with the staff comments while Dea is able to be unmuted. Good evening, everyone. Chelsea Blanchard, staff architect from the Landmarks Commission. And our recommendation for this application this evening is to approve with provisos. Because this is a revisit, I'm going to skip the beginning part, which just tells you all the relevant study report language. If anyone needs a refresher on that, I can always come back to it. Following the May 26th Boston Landmarks Commission hearing, the applicant worked with staff on a revised presentation and assembled several options for discussion with commissioners for this evening, June 23rd. Based on feedback at the hearing, staff advised the applicant to re-examine the following elements of their proposed design. Number one, the number of lights in the proposed window and overall sash proportion. Number two, to present simplified window trim options in order to clearly differentiate the new window from the historic windows. Number three, to present a few different window sizing options as directed by the commissioners in May to show the previous modern window submission, which staff had previously rejected at a desk review. Number four, staff thought it would be helpful if the applicant would build a stronger case for the rhythm of existing three-part bay openings that already exist on several facades of the historic building. Number 5 was just to add some better photos that didn't include the existing lattice obscuring the building openings. And number 6 is to consider that the new opening is not necessarily a given and on this historic facade. The standards and criteria from the study report do not prohibit the addition of the additional window openings at this location of the church. It is important, however, that new features and additions need to be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the historic materials, features, size, and proportion. And therefore, staff recommends that the proposed work is approved with the following proviso: that the window shown in option 2 of the applicant's application is selected, provided that it is wood with true divided lights or simulated divided lights with spacer bar and applied muntins, with the shop drawings to be remanded to staff for final review. The simplified window trim differentiates this window from the existing windows at this elevation and is compatible with the historic material size, scale, and proportion of the windows found at other elevations of Putnam Chapel. And with that, I will turn it over to the applicant.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd like to share my screen if that's possible. We
Yes.
have the same presentation. I just can show it in the order that we'd like to show it.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Chelsea. And thank you all very much for your time to review our project further. Our proposal again seeks to install a window in Putnam Chapel, which was built as a parish hall for First Church Roxbury in 1876. For clarity and context, the urban ministry operates out of this historic campus and works for social justice through our domestic violence shelter, after school and summer employment programs, and Roxbury partnerships. Putnam Chapel is available to the Roxbury neighborhood for meetings and events. Recently, we completed restoration of our 1804 First Church Roxbury Meeting House, and we'll use it as an event space for concerts and lectures. We want to ensure that our rental revenues allow us to maintain the meeting house so that we never see it fall into disrepair again. A business plan for that purpose recommended that groups renting the meeting house will also want to use Putnam Chapel at the same time. Currently, Putnam Chapel is a functional but tired space with little natural light. The interior was altered by fire, and little has been done to improve the space for 25 years. Both because of the need to generate revenue and our desire to well serve our Roxbury neighbors, we wanted to make basic improvements. We received a Klarman Foundation grant to add air conditioning and a window to allow in natural light, affording a view of our Peace Garden, the historic St. Luke's Chapel, and the Boston skyline, all connecting visitors to the city's history. We met with staff of the Boston Landmarks Commission, as Chelsea Blanchard mentioned, to get input. They gave us helpful guidance to maintain the building's character. We adapted our plans based on that input and created 2 options that reflected that guidance. We then engaged the Roxbury community. We held open houses, met with local organizations, including the Highland Park Neighborhood Coalition, and we're proud to receive letters of support from organizations, including the Roxbury Historical Society, led by Byron Rushing, as well as descendants of the Reverend James de Normandy, a notable minister who served First Church Roxbury soon after Putnam Chapel was built. The design choice that the Roxbury community overwhelmingly selected as their favorite choice was the single window, which we presented to you last month. We return to you now to provide this additional design information based on the questions that we received last month. And I will turn it over to our architect from Flock Studio, Thea Masu.
Thank you, Mary Margaret. So as we discussed last time, we will show a few of the elevations that were presented previously to staff at the desk review. Obviously, this here is the existing elevation. Where we started in the process was a much larger window, single element with a stained glass component at the top of the window. and sort of a Juliet balcony that would allow, it sort of looks like the adjacent trim, but we were told this is probably way too modern. We wanted to keep with the historic facade of the building. So we looked at a few other options, including, scaling it down a bit so it wasn't quite so large, and trying to mimic the pattern of the adjacent window, muntins or mullions. We also looked at the idea of taking a double window, which is something that appears on one of the other facades of the building. And these were the two options presented to the community. As Mary Margaret mentioned, the Roxbury Historical Society, the Highland Park Neighborhood Commission, and others weighed in on it through a series of events and meetings. And what I wanted to do before we go much further is just to take a look at, first of all, I wanted to show one picture of the interior, which kind of demonstrates a bit of a work in progress, which you can kind of see. Obviously, the space needs some updating. There used to be a stage here that's been removed for accessibility purposes, compliance. We will be removing these walls that were sort of temporary, just, put up that relate to the stage that no longer make much sense in the space. And the existing interior had, there was some ductwork. You can see a vent up here on this north elevation that's no longer used. So all of this is a bit outdated and a little bit dim. As Mary Margaret mentioned, the windows are relatively small compared to the height of the interior space. As you can see in some of these other photos, we tried to get a decent photo of that elevation without the trellises. They would not come down. So we did our best to try to demonstrate what that facade looks like. Also, this tree has really come in since the last time we took photos, so it was a bit challenging to get a decent shot of that side of the building. But one of the things I also wanted to point out was looking at the other facades of the building, there's a pretty clear ABA relationship in terms of the windows or the openings, where there are smaller windows similar to the north elevation, flanking a middle element that's larger, which is the B element. So that happens on each of the other three facades of the building pretty clearly. This one, there is, you can see in the plan, there's an adjacent hallway where we can maybe assume that we don't have previous drawings or photos of this before the addition was put on, but we can make the assumption perhaps that there was another window here at one time when it was a separate building. And so what we're coming to you today with is the coming back to a single wider window that would make sense given both the pattern on the other elevations and the fact that the louver above is wider than the side windows. I know that the basement windows don't necessarily match. The center one is the same size as these others, but again, given the photos, it's really challenging to see the basement from a distance unless you're standing sort of right up to the side of the building looking up at it, which isn't, I didn't think it was as much of a view that most of the public would see. And then one last thing I wanted to point out is just, so with the window that we're proposing, we did a quick rendering just to try to see what that could do with to the space, keeping in mind that these walls would be removed. We believe that this wall would get smoothed out. We wouldn't have these mechanical bump outs anymore, and that it brings in quite a bit of light to the space, much more so than just adding another one of these same type of windows. I believe that's everything. I'm also showing that that option just as because it was requested the last time, but our preference is for the wider window, single window. In terms of the trim, we would work with staff and try to figure out through the shop drawing process how to simplify it, or if there's another balcony element that you'd want us to look at, we're happy to do that as well. So I will leave it there for now.
Thank you so much, Thea. And then I'm just going to remind commissioners that staff prefer, out of all of the options that we've looked at with Flock Studios, we think that option number 2 is the most appropriate solution. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, I think we'll move on to commissioner comments and questions. Anyone want to start?
I can start, Jeffrey Haney.
Great.
Yeah, I think I agree with option 2. Is it possible to comment on the interior of the space, or should we not do that?
I don't think that's within our.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
This is Brad. I will say first, I appreciate the added work and the context of seeing these various options next to each other. And I also appreciate your sort of A/B rhythm diagrams from the rest of the building. I think that's really helpful. The trick here, right, is to figure out how to detail this window so that it's comfortable in this facade, but doesn't look like it's always been there. And I think what you're kind of saying is we're going to abstract it. Like we're not doing the sort of applied balustrade at the bottom I'm seeing in the drawing. Also, when I zoomed in, it feels like the window surround maybe has a fewer lines than the ones next to it. So if the answer to my question is you're going to continue to work with the Boston Landmarks Commission staff to find the right balance point between historic replication of the trim of the adjacent windows and abstraction of the trim or simplification of the trim, I'm okay with that. That's a whole project in itself. So I think that can be, one of the provisos. Staff in their recommended provisos, I think, suggested that you could have the leeway to have true divided light or simulated divided light. I might like to tailor that proviso just a little bit to say that the Muntin bar dimension in width should match the adjacent window.
Okay.
And then you can pick your true or simulated based on that. So if those are 7/8 inch muntins on the adjacent windows, try to get 7/8 inch muntins on the new windows. So suddenly we don't just have some, fatter expression. And I guess I should have started by saying, I also think this option 2 is the best balance of the various things we're trying to consider.
Thanks, Brad. Angela?
Hi. I think I generally agree with what's been said. Although I'm wondering if you could zoom out a little and just look at option 1, 2, 3, 4 in the
Yes.
lower. Yeah. Yeah. If it's important, and I believe it is, to distinguish this center window from its historical counterparts, there are elements of this option that I think are also good, in that it does not try to repeat the pedimented hood of the other windows. The window is a little taller, which I think from the interior is nice. And I guess with the exception of the kind of the Juliet balcony treatment or the whatever the paneling is below the window, which you could swap that out for what you did in option 2. I think this one has merits, and to me, I mean, I hate to be that outlier, but I kind of prefer it over option 2, just because I'm not really crazy about the narrow pedimented hood getting wider. I do see that you were trying to keep the same slope of the pediment, which is good. But to me, just squaring it off on the top and taking it all the way to the frieze feels actually a little more simple and honest to me. And I think you could do all the things that Brad was just describing with kind of maybe simplifying the molding a little bit around as you go. But so I guess it would be kind of my preference would be a combination of this option 4 with the balustrade of option 2.
Thanks, Angela. Brad, do you mind if I just jump in really quickly? Angela, we sort of had the same thoughts. However, one thing that staff was a bit concerned with was actually the heightened lintel, where you lose some of the clapboard field there. And we felt that that was really important to at least keep, whether it's pedimented or a straight lintel across. We felt that keeping some amount of the clapboard field was important. Maintaining the consistent height seemed important to us in this like very orderly facade. So where I think staff would be okay with sorry, I've been on vacation and now I can't speak. With a flat top lintel, I think that the proportion of that sort of same height window was rather important to us when we were reviewing this. I think another thing that could happen is that even if we kept the pedimented trim, that could be simplified a bit to be a little bit more modern. So that's the type of thing we would work on with the applicant after the fact. But I think our first option was, our preference was 2 because of that height limit. And definitely, Angela, our second option was number 4.
Okay.
So we're like going in the same line.
Yeah. I guess I'll just say the height did not bother me on option 4 because that window is generally the same width as the fan window above it, which to me kind of feels like a good relationship. Whereas I actually don't think it's quite as good with the pediment kind of visually poking the fan. But so I hear what you're saying. And I don't think I'm, feel that strongly for 4 over 2 in order to get in the way. So
I'd love to hear other commissioners' opinions on this part of the discussion, because I would hate to give conflicting feedback on a second round here. So I'd like to get our proviso really clean.
Thea, would you mind going to your A-B diagram? Because I'm just noticing the B windows are always pedimented, but also they're always the same height. No,
That's actually where we got the window to put on the back, is basically this exact window.
Yeah, there's no example on the building, and I don't know whether this is disqualifying or qualifying, but there's no example of a window here that's taller than the other windows.
yeah, you're right. Yep, I see that.
I want to make this comment, but I don't know how relevant it is because again, the interiors may be out of, your purview, but making it slightly taller would actually kind of help the interior. I'll just leave that there.
Let's not include that in this.
Let's not. Okay, fine.
Just because we have to, like, I feel like we're dangerously close to you getting like conflicting advice.
Never mind. Never mind.
But
Okay.
of course, we all know that is probably true.
So I think where we're landing at this point is consistent with staff recommendations and the listed provisos with a few additional details. I know we still have to open this up for public comment as well, but I think we're still leaning towards the option 2 with possibly also taking a look at the straight top potentially, but
Thea,
at
do
the
you want to
same
show what you
rough
just
opening.
did?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, oops, what I'm hearing is to look at maybe an option that shows something more like this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then this would be
Without
filled
that.
in with, yeah.
Yeah. Joe, do you have?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. We didn't think about that, to do more of a rectangular lintel
Mhm.
over the center window. I think that is worth, us exploring on a staff level applicant.
Mhm.
The magic of Bluebeam.
Yeah, just thinking the same.
Mhm.
Okay,
Great.
why don't we go ahead and open this up for public comment? And then we can circle back to refine potential provisos. Okay, members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff at email at blc@boston.gov. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per person and should be focused on the project's exterior architectural features, which include landscaping. Issues related to use, street traffic, and noise are outside of the commission's purview. All right, it looks like we have Allison up first.
Allison, I've asked you to unmute.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I did want to say I am here on behalf of the newspaper because I wasn't allowed to speak before, so didn't have that unmute option. My question, maybe not so relevant, but did I understand that someone was saying that the historic permits for when Putnam Chapel was connected to the Sanctuary Meeting House building were not available, that you don't have those?
I don't know what that refers to, Allison.
I think you were
I think
talking
it was
about
photos.
yeah, are you talking about
Photos.
this connection piece?
Right, that's right, yeah.
Yep. I
That
don't
was-
know if we
yeah.
have historic photos of that particular side before the addition. Do you have those?
Not that I know of.
And you don't have the permits for when the addition happened?
I don't know what you mean by the permits. From the addition was put on like 25 years ago. I'm sure they had the correct permits at that time.
Right, right. I was just wondering if that the window configuration was, if you could see that in the
I hear that, yeah.
Before, yeah.
yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, might be worth taking a look at. Joe? Oh. No? Okay, any other public comment?
Joe, you're muted, Joe. Looks like you're trying to say something.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, we did receive public comment with the presentation, and that was letters of support from the Highland Park Neighborhood Coalition, the Roxbury Historical Society, and there was one more here. Oh, the Normandy family.
Okay, great. All right, so at this point, I will close public comment. And we'll move on to summarizing what we will recommend at the business hearing. So it looks like we'll be recommending approval with the following provisos, and I think I'm just going to read them as staff has listed them here. So approval for option 2, provided that it is wood with true divided lights or simulated divided lights with a spacer bar and applied muttons, with shop drawings remanded to staff for final review. One caveat onto that would be that the mutton width will match the adjacent windows. And then proviso 2 would be the simplify trim to differentiate this window from the existing windows at the elevation and is compatible with historic materials, size, scale, and proportion of the windows found at the other elevations of the Putnam Chapel. Again, with the caveat of really refining the differences between abstraction and historic replication, and looking at the straight rough opening versus the pediment.
So as part of the trim package, let's say, to be developed with staff, that would include the shape of the head casing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we, I had to answer my door. But did any other commissioners feel strongly about the straight lintel versus the pedimented just before we wrap these provisos?
I think when they put that on the screen, that would have been my preference.
Okay.
Kind of that adapted blend that
Okay.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt was.
Any strong objections to that?
No, and maybe not with the shoulders at the top even.
Right. Okay. Sort of making it a little bit more modern if possible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. Those sound like good provisos, Justine.
Mouthful on those.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get this right.
Yeah. And I got the term head casing there, Brad, for when we read it into the business hearing. Thank you for that, struggling on that one. All right, then I think
At
we'll.
least 5 architects on the call, so somebody else can come up with something else.
Right?
That's why I did that diagram. I knew you'd appreciate the ABA diagram.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think at this point we can conclude on design review subcommittee, and we'll oh, nope, we have administrative reviews, excuse me.
Oh.
Okay, thank you very much.
We can
We're
let
done.
guys
you.
go.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming back to us.
Absolutely.
you
Thank
so
you for
much.
thoughtfulness. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and read the administrative review into the record here. Application 26.1043, BLC 33 Union Street signage, new facade signage. Application 26.0837, BLC 19 Union Street signage, new facade signage. Application 26.1020, BLC Arlington Street Church, 351 Boylston Street, replacement of deteriorated sandstone and copper gutter at south entrance. Application 26.1033 BLC, Back Bay FENS, planting of 4 trees to replace removed trees. Application 26.1050 BLC, Boston Common, installation and planting of temporary planting beds at Charles Street and planting of existing beds at Tremont entrance to Boston Common for 2026 season only. Application 26.0993 BLC, China Trade Building, 2 Boylston Street, installation of temporary art installation that includes window decals at China Trade Building from June 11th, 2026 until August 1st, 2026. Application 26.1049 BLC, the Christian Science Center Complex at 235 Huntington Avenue, replacement of existing mechanical equipment at roof of Sunday School building. Application 26.1014 BLC, Loring Greeno House at 12 South Street, Jamaica Plain, installation of temporary outdoor art exhibit from November 2026 to April 2027. Application 26.0940 FPC, 21 Wormwood Street at Fort Point, emergency window replacement due to leaks, window to be replaced in kind. Application 26.1047 SB, 130 St. Botolph Street, St. Botolph, repoint upper section of front facade, repoint chimney at front portion of roof. Application 26.1071 SB, 15 Almere Street, St. Botolph, emergency repair, install new EPDM rubber roof, replace damaged roof deck, keeping same dimensions and configuration. Okay, and I think with that, we will take a vote on these at the business hearing. All right, so I think we'll conclude for now and then pick this back up at 6 o'clock.
Sounds good. Thanks, Justine.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Brad, we're just letting people in and getting them set up.
Still missing a few commissioners.
Yep. So everybody who's on, we are just waiting to start the business hearing portion of our Zoom tonight. And we will get started as soon as we obtain quorum. John, I've made you a co-host, so you should be able to unmute yourself.
And Liz Angela is back. I just.
Yep, I've got her.
Elizabeth, this is John Amadeo. I'm joining by phone, so you might
Yep.
not see my name.
That's okay. I knew it was you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, we do have quorum. I see Lindsay Mac Jones.
Mhm.
So I will start when you want to start the recording.
We're already on recording.
We're on recording. All right,
Mhm.
I'm going to start. We'll catch up with people if they join. Good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Walker. I'm chair of the Boston Landmark Commission. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Boston Landmark Commission on June 23rd, 2026 at 6:01 p.m. Present are Commissioners Freeman, Orlando, Gagosian, Mac Jones, Amadeo, Ward Hyatt, Haney, and myself. I'd like to take a quick second to welcome Sue Gagosian back to the commission. I think almost everybody here served with Sue previously, but we're very happy to have you back. Sue is the mayor's appointee, one of the mayor's appointees, taking the place that Patty had before. Also present are from the Boston Landmarks Commission staff, Joe Cornish, Director of Design Review, Sarah Lawton, I think still here, Sarah's Preservation Assistant, Elizabeth Sherva, Deputy Director of the Office of Historic Preservation, Chelsea Blanchard, Staff Architect. Did anybody else join while I was looking down?
Did you say Joe's name?
Joe Cornish, I think I did.
Okay.
I didn't. Joe Cornish, Director of Design Review. All right. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at www.zoomgov.com/J/165-509-5154 or by calling 1-646-828-7666 and entering the meeting ID 165-509-5154. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28th, 2025 amendment extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. At this point, I would like to ask if there's any media or elected officials present to please identify yourself by using the raise your hand function on the Zoom platform so that you can be unmuted. And when you are unmuted, please state your name, title, and affiliation. I see Allison has her hand raised.
Allison Polton is here for the Fenway News. Thank you.
Al.
Brad, I also want to note that Felicia Jacques Commissioner Jock is here, and Kathy Cotteritas is in attendance also. Brad, you're muted.
Don't know how that happened. Let me briefly summarize our agenda, which is quite simple tonight. Earlier tonight, the design review subcommittee met, and we heard one full design review matter on First Church, Roxbury, and then administrative matters. And we'll be reporting on those this evening to the full commission. And that is really the extent of the commission's agenda this evening, other than staff updates. So with that, I'm going to start with the ratification of meeting minutes. We actually have the past two meetings to ratify. I'm going to do them one at a time. Let's start with the May 26th, 2026 meeting. Those minutes were circulated earlier, and at this point, I'd be happy to hear from any commissioners, any questions or comments or corrections. Jeffrey Haney, is this the one where you noticed a little typo?
I think so. I can't remember where I saw it on the meeting minutes, but
Jeff reported earlier that Commissioner Orlando's name was misspelled in one of these, so we'll correct that. Does anyone else have anything to add to the May 26th meeting minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion to accept them.
I'll make that motion, Brad. Justine?
Thank you. And is there a second, please?
I'll second that, John Amadeo.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt, Commissioner Ward Hyatt, are you able to?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry. And Commissioner Haney,
yes.
and I vote yes. We'll move on to the meeting minutes of June 9th. Any commissioners have comments or corrections on those meetings? If there are none, I would entertain a motion to accept them as they were submitted.
Make
I'll
that
make that
motion,
motion.
Brad.
All right, I'm going to take Jeff Haney and Justine. Did I hear you?
Yes, sir.
Take you as the second, if you don't mind.
Great.
Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So we move on to the design review items, and I would recognize at this time Justine Orlando, who is chair of the design review subcommittee.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Brad. All right. So we reviewed formally the First Church Roxbury application, which had come for advisory review a couple weeks ago. So this should be pretty fresh for folks. The application again came for the installation of a window opening and a new window at the north elevation of the Putnam Chapel. And where we landed here, the applicant came with, I think it was 6 total options to review, and some great detail on why different options kind of worked better with the building cadence of the existing windows. And similar to staff recommendations, we are recommending an approval with a series of provisos that I'll attempt to read here. So we have approval of option 2, provided that it is wood a wood window with true divided lights or simulated divided lights with a spacer bar and applied muttons, with shop drawings remanded to staff for final review. And that the muttons, the width of the muttons, will be consistent with the width of the muttons on the adjacent windows. And then second, that they will work to refine a simplified trim with staff that differentiates this window from the existing windows at the elevation and is compatible with historic materials, size, scale, and proportion of the windows found at other elevations of the Putnam Chapel, which would also include working through the trim details and the header casing to go potentially with a more simplified straight head casing versus the pediment.
So you would make such a motion to,
Yes, so that would be a motion to approve with the provisos listed. Thank you.
thank you. And is there a second, please? Commissioner
I'll
Hess?
second.
Okay, that was John Amadeo.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
I vote yes. And back to you, Justine, for administrative review items.
Yes, so we read into the record multiple administrative review for approval, making a motion to approve the administrative reviews listed here.
And is there a second to that motion, please?
I'll second that, Angela.
Thank you. And I noticed Commissioner Gagnon has joined the meeting. Commissioner Jacques,
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Goganian,
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
No vote yes. And I'll just note, Commissioner Gagnon, I didn't call on you because we're oversubscribed.
No problem.
But thank you for being here. And with that, I would recognize Elizabeth Sherva to take us through staff updates.
Thanks, Brad. Pretty brief this evening. Our next hearing will be July 14th at 6 o'clock. And I believe we have a few items on the agenda for that day. We will be hearing the study report for New England Conservatory. So you should all take a look at that. Very interesting building and very, very interesting history. So we will have a presentation of the study report, public feedback, discussion, and then a vote to accept the study report and the designation. The other items on the agenda have not yet been confirmed, but for sure we will be hearing the New England Conservatory that evening. And that's all I have for tonight.
All right. Thank you, Liz. Any commissioners have anything on their minds that they'd like to share?
Just to say that what a pleasure to see Sue Goganian's face on this.
Here, here.
Here,
I
here.
really
Here.
missed you all. I really missed you all.
We miss you too.
We miss you too, Susan.
We assume you've been secretly listening in on all the meetings.
I haven't actually listened to any of them, but I also want to thank the staff because I have a feeling that they did things multiple times to make this happen. So I really appreciate it.
You know,
Okay.
they're all recorded if you want to go back through them.
Oh, that's okay.
Anybody else? If not, I'm sorry to send you home early, but I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
That was, who was the second? I'm sorry.
John Amadeo.
John Amadeo.
Amadeo. And a voice vote, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you, everybody. See
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night.
Good
Good night.
night.